Hey y'all, Cindy and I would like to welcome you back to our channel. One thing Cindy and I enjoy doing is interacting with our subscribers and viewers. And in that interaction, we have received a number of questions from new RVers over the years. So I compiled the 10 most asked questions, and I thought I'd answer them here on video, so if you were wondering the same thing, you'd have the answers. So let's get into it. Number one, what type of RV should I buy? You know, that answer depends on what your needs are. If you prioritize mobility, you should consider a van camper, Class B, as we call them, or a Class C RV if you're going to take a larger family, whichever one suits you. They're both small and they're both nimble. For long-term living, like Cindy and I do, we chose a Class A. That is a great motorhome style if you're going to be doing a good bit of traveling while you live in your RV full-time or for extended travel. If you're going to be somewhere for a long period of time, if you look around behind me and you see all these bigger conventional travel trailers and fifth wheels, a lot of these people live in these because they work and travel at the same time. They're here on a job for a year or so, and so they pull in these big fifth wheels and travel trailers and they sit for a while. So if you want to have more of a home-like feeling and you don't worry about being really nimble, then a big travel trailer or a fifth wheel may be for you. Now, what I suggest to people to do is, there's a lot of rental companies out there that will rent you an RV. Why don't you rent a few of the different types and see which fits your travel style the best? Number two, I get asked this a lot, is do I need a special license to drive an RV? The answer is no in most cases. So we use Texas as our state of residency. In Texas, you don't have to have a special driver's license unless your vehicle, your camper and truck, or your motorhome weigh over 26,000 pounds. So that's one thing that Cindy and I used when we were making our decision on which motorhome would be best. So our motorhome is 24,000 pounds. So we do not have to have a special RV or a special license to operate our RV. So I suggest that you check your state's DMV laws, but in most cases, the answer is no. I would double check to be sure. Number three, what is the cost of RVLife? You know, the cost includes the purchase of the RV, insurance, maintenance, fuel, campground fees, utilities, monthly expenses, depending on the way you decide to live, can be as little as $1,500 a month or as much as $5,000 a month or more, depending on which you choose. Cindy and I average a lifestyle expense of just over $4,000. Now, we offset a lot of that by work camping. If you're interested in work camping, I've got a whole playlist in our channel series that you can look at. I will link the work camping playlist at the end of this video. How do I find a campground or places to park overnight? That's question number 4 that comes up probably the most often. So there are a lot of apps like Campendium, Allstays, iOverlander. Now Cindy and I prefer to use Allstays. At the end of this video, I will link that Cindy made on how to use the Allstays app. There's also national parks website. There's state parks for whichever state you're in. There's that website. There's Good Sam's. There's RV Parky. There's all kinds of sites. It's whatever you feel more comfortable in using. For just regular boondocking or camping overnight in a parking lot, you know, again, Campendium, Allstays. There's Bureau of Land Management, BLM Land. There's all kinds of different websites. If you just put in a general search for campgrounds in whatever area you're in your web browser, you're bound to get a ton of hits. So that one's become a lot easier. When I first started, we had to get the big Good Sam's book that was like a big telephone book, and we had to use that to find our campgrounds. The internet and smartphones and apps have made that a lot easier to handle. Number 5, how do I handle RV hookups? You know, water, electric, and sewer. Well, water, you connect your RV to the campground's water spigot using a freshwater hose. Make sure the hose is rated for drinking out of, and it's just not your garden variety hose that you buy at the hardware store. And I always suggest that you use a pressure regulator, like at the park we're at here in South Carolina. We are literally the first dump off of the water tower, and we have really high pressure. We tell everybody to use a water regulator. I suggest you use a water regulator. I'll link down below the water regulator, or in the description, the water regulator that we use. Electricity, you just plug straight into the pedestal, and you've connected either the 30 or the 50 amp. Now, not all campgrounds may have the amperage that you need. Our motorhome, for example, uses a 50 amp service, but some campgrounds, especially older campgrounds, only go up to 30 amp. So you have to have a dog bone, it's what I call them, but it's just a plug that is 30 amp on one end, on the male end, and 50 amp on the female end, and you plug your 50 amp into the female end and plug the male end right into the stanchion. They go both ways. You can get a 50 to 30. I've never been to a campground that only has 50 amp. If they have 50 amp, they normally have both. Sewer. Attach the sewer hose to the RV and the dump station if they don't have full hookups, or the sewer connection if they do have full hookups at your site. You always empty the black tank first and then the gray tank. The water from the gray tank is used to wash what's left in the hose from the black tank. Make sure when you're camping though that you keep both tanks closed. When your monitor inside the camper says it's time to flush or to dump, then go outside. Make sure you're securely connected to both the RV and the sewage connection at the campground before you pull the levers. Number 6, how do I manage internet while on the road? When we first started RVing, you didn't have to worry about internet because nobody had it and you weren't going to get it. But it's gotten a lot better now. Options now include mobile hotspots, RV specific Wi-Fi boosters, satellite internet, popular services like Starlink, Verizon, which we use, and T-Mobile plans that are designed specific for RVers. So you have a lot of internet options on the road. Number 7, what should I pack for RV living? essentials including kitchenware, bedding, tools, first aid supplies, outdoor gear, clothing for various climates. Now, like we're in South Carolina, it's supposed to be warmer here. Right now it is 24 degrees outside. That's why I'm bundled up. We've had an unusually strange winter vortex, or whatever they call it, blow through. So you need to be prepared. But you need to remember that in an RV is not like being in your home. Space is limited. So choose multi-purpose items when you can. How do I maintain my RV is question number 8. You know, always regularly check your tire pressures. I do it before we get on the road. If you're at a place for a long period of time, I check them bi-monthly. Like we're at this park for at least a year since we're managing this park. So we'll check our tire pressures monthly to make sure that you don't have any flat spots or one's low and the tire gets damaged. Check your roof to make sure there's no cracks in the seals. Always check your fluids. If you have a motorhome, then I try to crank my motorhome and my generator at least bi-monthly and let them run. I usually let the engine on the motorhome run for 30 minutes and the generator run for close to an hour, changing between load and no load on the system. Number 9, how do I stay safe while RVing? Well, you know, always research your destination. Make sure that you're not in a sketchy part of the community when you get there. Always keep your doors locked. Avoid isolated areas if you're uncomfortable. Keep a first aid kit, fire extinguisher, I would say multiple fire extinguishers, and emergency contacts readily available. Cindy and I were going through Tuscaloosa a few years ago, and we pulled into a Walmart to boondock overnight. At about 10:30 or so at night, we heard gunshots coming from the apartment complex that was adjacent to the Walmart parking lot. We didn't feel safe. We moved 5 miles down the road to a Cracker Barrel, and that's where we stayed the night. So if you're boondocking, if things get uncomfortable, you can always move. If you're in an RV park that turns out to be less than desirable, you can move. Final question, question number 10. What's boondocking and how do I do it? Boondocking is camping without hookups, you know, off-grid. You can use solar panels or a generator to get power. We have 4 lead-acid batteries on our camper, and we use a generator to keep those going. And if we need air conditioning or the microwave, we have the generator to crank it up. For us, this solution offers us a wider variety of power when we need it than the solar panels. Need to make sure you have sufficient water. We have a 60-gallon fresh water tank on our camper, and make sure that you have plenty of room to store the wastewater that you're going to make while you're camping. Like when you brush your teeth, it goes in the gray tank. When you go to the bathroom, it goes in the black tank. We've got, I think, a 54-gallon, I'm not real sure, but I think it's 54-gallon gray and 50-gallon black tank. So we just have to monitor those systems and make sure that we are not putting more wastewater in any given tank than we have room for. You know, National Forest and BLM lands are very popular for boondocking spots. There are a lot of regulations. Make sure you don't dump any of your gray or black on the ground. Make sure you pick up after yourself so the place is nicer when you leave than when you got there. So anyway, that's the answer to the top 10 questions we get. I hope you found it helpful, and hopefully we'll see you down the road. Safe camping out there.